They're still at it again. Everybody is still talking about the Asian American boycott. But guess what? You guys just saw what happened. 4th of July, we saw 400 white people march on the white line, you know, pushing a symbol. Do you guys want me to talk about that too? Press 5 if you guys want me to talk about black people reacting to what happened at the White House. But going back here, Asian American boycott, it is still in full throttle. We have Asian Americans are telling us the history, how, white people did them as well. Back in the 1870s here in America, we still have black people speaking out about the Asian American boycott. So I wanted to give you guys everything I can find because I am digging. I am up late at night digging for information for you guys. So I just want to say thank you all for your likes and your shares. Please keep them going on and keep this channel alive. I appreciate it.
A laundromat.
It is so damn ironic of you to bring up Chinese restaurants and dry cleaners and laundromats because we didn't choose those jobs. We were actually forced into them due to the anti-Asian laws created by white Americans and white European immigrants. And the only reason why those businesses survived was largely because of the support of black people. But a lot of you bootlickers don't know your history. And for that, I'm going to have to take you to school.
Domain expansion. Infinite TED Talk.
What's up, everyone? My name is Rainier, and this is the true history of boycotting Asian businesses. You see, before Chinese restaurants and gas stations and beauty supply stores, the first Chinese migrants were actually in America in the 1800s during the California Gold Rush, and then to build the Transcontinental Railroad across the West Coast. But when the gold ran out and the final train tracks were laid, the American economy fell into a depression, and poor white Americans and European immigrants started to feel threatened by Chinese labor. And so what do? They joined anti-coolie clubs, and they advocated for anti-coolie laws that would limit the opportunities of Chinese laborers and tax anybody who hired Chinese workers. The racism was so bad that Chinese people were hunted down in their neighborhoods, beaten up by mobs of white men, or just straight up lynched in the streets. This violence is a big reason why Chinatowns were created in the first place. They are ghettos. They are safe spaces where Chinese people could set up shop and live together. But because of these anti-coolie laws, the only businesses that they could set up and get financing for were restaurants, grocery stores, and laundromats. A side note, so you should definitely watch the Warrior series because it's based on the writings of Bruce Lee, and it's set in the 1870s during all of this anti-Asian racism. But even though black people were fighting their own freedoms at the time, they still took the initiative to speak up for Asians. And in 1869, the great Frederick Douglass gave the Composite Nation speech where he said, "Let the Chinaman come. He will help to augment the national wealth. He will help to develop our boundless resources. He will help to pay off our national debt. He will help to lighten the burden of our national taxation. He will give us the benefit of his skill as a manufacturer and as a tiller of the soil in which he is unsurpassed." Then in 1871 in Los Angeles, a mob of 500 white men robbed Chinese businesses and killed 19 Chinese immigrants. Hatred was so commonplace that companies would release advertisements to sell their laundry products using anti-Chinese racism. And then decades later, when the Hoover Company needed to sell washing machines, they published this ad over here depicting Chinese laundromat workers being displaced by automation. Now, if you watched Sinners, you probably remember the two Asian characters over here who ran a grocery store. And a lot of people were kind of confused why they were included, but that's because many Asians who left the West Coast due to a lack of work and racism, they fled to the South to work on sugar and cotton plantations. Many of those same Asians set up grocery stores in those black neighborhoods, which means black people were speaking up for Asians on the West Coast and putting dollars into our businesses in the American South. Fast forward to the 1980s when Vincent Chin was bludgeoned to death with a baseball bat by two white men who thought that Vincent was Japanese. Ronald Ebens and Michael Nitz recently lost their job at the Chrysler factory, and they blamed the Japanese car market for destroying the American automotive industry. And so they killed Vincent Chin. And when the Asian community needed to seek justice, who showed up for us? Jesse Jackson. I can honestly keep going, but I'm going to end on this note. If you know the Disney movie, The Jungle Book, then you know the author of the original book, Rudyard Kipling. But what you might not know is that Rudyard also infamously created the poem, The White Man's Burden, which symbolizes the pain and the struggle of being a white man who is responsible for carrying African, Asian, Latino, and indigenous people out of the jungles of barbarism into the promised land of civilization. But for a lot of you bootlickers, You seem to think that just because you're in another basket that you're better than black folks, even though we've worked on the same plantations and we've been lynched by the same angry mobs. You're trying so hard to get invited to the picnic, even though history has proven that we'll never truly be accepted by them. And in fact, history shows us the opposite. History has shown us that even though black people have no reason to invite us to the cookout, for well over a century, they have still had the heart to save us a plate. So to all you ungrateful Asian bootlickers out there crying about black people boycotting Asian businesses, just know that this protest doesn't come from nowhere. It came from over 100 years of showing love to Asian people and not receiving that same love and support in return. Goddamn, I think it's time that we need to return the favor.
I had to follow him because everything he said was the truth. Once you know history, and it really pisses me off whenever I hear people just come off on the tail end of something, on the tail end of history, on the tail end of everything, and they don't know a piece of history, and then they come up with all these weird scenarios about, boycotting equals hatred and boycotting, and they don't even see all the love the black community gave Asians, only to get spit on in return, on every side, because they have a whole anti-blackness culture way over there, and they bring it over here. He did some studying. Either he went and studied or he already knew it. And he decided to educate his own people because they needed some education.
To the Asian man who went on his tirade about how your businesses do not need black people. If we chose to boycott Asian businesses, it would not matter to you. I wanted to make this video and respond to some of the things that he addressed, because there's one thing that he said specifically that lets me know this man not only just carries personal bias against black people, but he does not understand his history within this country. In your video tirade, you made a point to say that we don't need to have our businesses in your neighborhoods. We have our Chinatowns and Koreatowns. We also have our businesses in the white neighborhoods. He goes on to say that you guys are allowing people to come to this country that don't speak the language, outwork you, and build their businesses around you. Sir, I need you to understand that for many, many years in this country, decades even, black people were not allowed to start businesses in this country. If you read The Color of Law, then you would know that before things like the Civil Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, the Fair Business Act, there was legislation that kept black people from being able to own businesses in their neighborhoods. Banks would not loan to black Americans to give them the opportunity to start their businesses. However, America was always trying to beat the allegations that they were a racist country. So one of the ways that they would do that is they allowed Asian Americans, they allowed Asian immigrants to come here and start businesses. But at first, they were not going to let them start those businesses in their neighborhoods. At first, they were not going to allow Asian Americans to open their restaurants or their grocery stores in white neighborhoods, because guess what? To these people, you are no different than us. So to offset that, they allowed Asian immigrants and Asian Americans to start their businesses in our communities. That was the only place you were allowed to have a business. And that practice has basically continued to this day. Generation upon generation, you've passed those businesses down through your families. They have stayed in those communities. And now that we have grown into more modern times, we do see that you have your businesses all over the place now. We do see that you have your communities built, your Koreatowns, your Chinatowns in all of these major cities. But that came off the back of our government and the legislation in place allowing you to have an opportunity that they specifically denied people like me from having. This does not get discussed in your everyday education. This constantly gets ignored by people, specifically the type of people that you want to suck up to, because they would never want you to believe that they sent you to an area that they didn't want to have any part of in order to give you an opportunity to make money. They sent you to African American communities to make your money, build your businesses, and make your profits. And yet you turn around and point your frustration at us. You turn around and say things like, how dare we decide that we want to change the way we spend our money and engage with this system economically. You can act like you don't need us all you want, but you do. Because those people that you continue to align yourself with will not have your back when push comes to shove. You may not be the lowest person on the totem pole at this moment, because all they want to do is find ways to harass the black community here in America. But you best believe if they were to somehow accomplish whatever they wanted to accomplish and got us out the way, how long before you become the community that they want to go after and dismantle? Because that is how things work here in America. That is the history of this country. And it's very clear that you did not have any knowledge of that history when you went on your tirade about not needing black people to spend money in your businesses.
So black owned means black American owned. And I've seen content out here saying that the black owned and this whole boycott does not mean Nigerian owned, African owned, the 54 countries of Africa and the Caribbean. Rightfully so, because y'all are late to the party. We Africans have been going to the African stores over and over again, and if you know African stores, you know the customer service is awful, but we still go back there. I might go in there and spend $150 for items that cannot fit in one plastic shopping bag, you understand? But we go back because I need to eat matoke from Uganda, I need to eat this dry tilapia fish, or I need to eat this, some catfish from West Africa. We go, we buy, we spend $200, $300 in our African stores. And there has never been a day an African is going to be touring stores in their city and say, oh, this is more expensive and I won't be going back. All we do is we go spend, end of the story. If my fufu is done, if my ugali is out, I'm going back there to get ugali flour. End of the story. And the fact that this is happening in your stores, in your communities as Black Americans, I am so proud that this finally is going to unite the Black American community. And I don't want to hear anybody doing content of price comparison between, oh, which store? Oh, I was not treated well. We Africans go to these stores to buy shit, and the owners may not even say, matter of fact, you have to say hi to the owner, and they may not even answer you back. So yeah, y'all need to, grab everything, because to me, the Africans have all been like just going to their stores without, and I've not seen any Africans per se, who are like, yeah, it is our time to shine. No, this time is for the Black Americans to shine. And so take those dollars. I'm still looking. I live in Kentucky, and so I'm looking for Black owned businesses. I'm always, going to the auntie stores and Black, African. If I need anything, well, there are very few, stores that are like of African American, so it's just the usual nonsense. But other than that, I still support Black businesses, around me if there is any. And so, yeah, you guys should fully take advantage of this, because this is entirely for Black Americans, and anybody coming out here is a scam. All right, bless. And I'm not trying to pander. I know somebody's gotta be like, yep, pander.
The reason why Asian people are so upset about this whole Asian boycott is just because we're being, singled out. You know what I mean? Always getting singled out. Like, it's not the first time, right, for us. You know what I mean? And we would have thought, like, of all people, Black people would have understand. It's messed up, this whole situation. Like, little, like, white people, like, race against Black people for generations. And now Black people are race against Asians. I mean, it's kind of ironic. Don't you think? It's like rain on your wedding day.
What are your thoughts, Crystal, about this? First and foremost, let's look at the elephant in the room. You want to be Black. The way you're wearing your hat, the way you're speaking,
I'm like, what?
everything you're saying, sweetheart, you learned English from watching these same rap videos that you're talking about. Stop playing with me. Secondly, let's really talk about it. The African American dollar, hence Target, you saw this. If we pull our money away, the economy will crash. Black dollar is over 1.9 trillion. Asian dollar is less than $1 trillion.
That's right.
They only support their own color.
That's right.
Yet you build beauty supplies, Chinese restaurants, nail salons. As soon as a plaza comes up, what's the first thing that drops in it?
Chinese restaurant.
Especially in a black area.
Yeah.
Why? Because no one else is going to spend with you. Those same white people in that white neighborhood that you live in, you do that because you want to blend in, but you still need the black dollar to be relatable. So please, don't speak for all Asians because I know he can't. Not every Asian thinks this way. There's some beautiful Asian people out there, and I know a lot of them. But sir, you want to be black. You want to be Tu Wong Fu Waka Flocka Jack. Like, stop playing with me, please. pick a side and move on. Stop.
It's actually crazy to me that black people are being called racist for boycotting Asian businesses. Like, we all see what's currently going on in the world. So, like, that's crazy. Like, first of all, that's not racism at all. And the thing is, if they are literally creating their business in order to specifically bring in the black dollar, then that just means that they're literally trying to take the black dollar from out the black communities and then not necessarily give back to those communities. They just want to take all of the money from black people because they know black people spend the most money when it comes to certain things. And so then they build stores of those certain things where they know black people spend the most money, and then they build it within black communities and then just take black people's money and then don't put that back into the community that they're a part of, where their business is. And also, it's confusing to me because if black people are no longer going to these stores, but there's no other races in those stores, then why are black people the ones that are being called racist for boycotting these companies? When if black people are that important to the company in itself, the company was literally built with the idea that this is specifically to gain money from the black community, which is kind of, interesting to say the least. But then that means that there aren't other races coming into these stores. So why is the anger only pointed towards black people? And it's because of the assimilation to whiteness that other people of color always have. Like, it's actually so insane to me. And it's like the issue always becomes black people rather than the actual system that was created not to benefit black people in any way. That also affects non-black people of color, but because non-black people of color want to assimilate so much to whiteness, they literally just take the stance of black people are bad. And so they blame the things on black people, and black people become the scapegoat for a bunch of situations when it's like realistically to the core, the issue is white supremacy. And I don't see that being a discussion that's being literally discussed and broken down and talked about at length. Like, it's just so crazy to me because it's like, it's so easy to just blame black people and call black people racist for boycotting Asian businesses. But it's like, let's look at everything that's been going on throughout these communities forever. Number one, these stores are specifically put into black communities to then get all of black people's money. And then also at the same time, other races aren't in the stores, but aren't being called out for not going to those stores. It's just black people because now black people don't want to spend their money where they're not appreciated. It's actually wild.
Bitch, fuck you and your pandering.
Okay. I didn't think I was going to make this video. I kind of skimmed over it, the last two I just made. But I am going to talk directly to the Asian Americans. And there's some decent ones out there. I've spoke to you. I got a neighbor and I need to check on him. I know he's older than I am, but I need to check on him. Decent dude. We've shared meal together. We've shared vegetables. We shared rice together. And sometimes, guess what? You do have to make relationships on a case-by-case basis. But here we are. when you treat your customers bad and your business is in your customer's neighborhood and you still treat people bad, folks are tolerable of you due to the fact that you may have something that they desire and they're willing to spend some of their income with you. And as a business person, that should be a treasured moment. Should you stop and make statues in the town square? No, you don't have to do that. You have to be respectful. You have to use the golden rule. But if you decide not to because you think a person doesn't speak the language of Vietnamese, or a person that's from Thailand, or Tagalog from the Philippines, or especially either Mandarin or Cantonese, or Korean. And I noticed with most Japanese, when I lived there in Japan, they were curious and interested about me. And yes, because when you see nothing but Japanese around, and then you see a Koko Gaijin, it's a whole different environment. I had been on a train from Fusa Station all the way going to Tokyo, and little kids would come over from their parents where they were sitting at and come over and rub my skin, thinking it was going to rub off. Because you got to understand, these little kids, they just children. They haven't seen it. And if they saw somebody, on the TV, then it may have been negative because guess what? The American news, they was always putting out something negative when I was stationed over in Japan for the Air Force. I had a Japanese girlfriend at the time, and she was like, why would they say that about black people from America? You don't act like that. And I told her, I said, most people don't act like that. Just like you have Yakuza here, you have criminals in the United States. But all black Americans aren't criminals. But this is what white Americans do. And then I told her, all white Americans aren't bad. There's some decent white Americans that live in America. But most of them, either they closet racist or they open racist. Either they overt or covert. But they still racist. But back to the Asians. How dare you? You know you've been disrespectful. How dare you want to come back and then threaten people? Say you want to charge them triple. You're not understanding. I know people that look just like me and speak Mandarin and Cantonese like they was born over there. And guess what? All you have to do is get a dictionary and turn it into AI and let AI do the phone call for you. You can conduct any business that you want to. So here, Asian Americans, for your decent ones, you know the ones in your community, the ones in your family, they're just some jacked up assholes. They some racist assholes because they want to be racist like white racist people. It ain't going to work out for you. I'm gonna pull your cover here. I'm gonna lift up your carpet for a moment. Foodnetwork.com. I get any recipe I want to. I have lived in Thailand. I have lived in the Philippines. I've been to Beijing, China, all over Japan, Guam, Hawaii, California. So I've been around enough Asians. I can cook any meal I want to. The hair care products. You're not really understanding. Black Americans have the ingenuity to make anything and everything. And you have just subsidized the ideal to make it happen. Because you ran off at the mouth and you've been negative ever since. No one is going to tolerate your disrespect. You are not going to threaten anybody because you know white America will not let a Chinese restaurant exist in their neighborhood. What do you think homeowners association is about. It wasn't about keeping the neighborhood safe or keeping the neighborhood good looking. The HOAs were all about keeping black Americans out. So now let's talk about the next thing up under the carpet. You jokers, your grandparents, your parents wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Civil Rights Act. It wasn't about black people. It was about everybody. Because we already know that if you have everybody, you have a better mix of things. You eat Chinese food by ordering 18 or more different dishes and let everybody taste a little bit of everything. That gives your palate and your experience of a culinary life that more vibrant. Why do you think it's called soul food? Why do you think when we slang talk about the cookout, there's a little bit of everything sitting at the table or two tables? Black Americans know. But we also know the call on bullshit. And you Asians, especially you Chinese, we're calling you out on your bullshit. And one way to call you out is not to spend money with you. I got a restaurant the next town over. It's been probably about 6 years. I do my own boycotting. My youngest boy did something really good, graduated, blah, 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 blah. So I told the wife, I said, look, let's eat some Chinese food. I went over to the restaurant, spent like $100 and some odd. And I know the family. They've never been hateful to me. But it's like, are you kidding me? I drop a C note plus, and the food tasted like garbage because guess what? The father and the mom hadn't been behind the pots and behind the wok in a while. All the food was messed up. That was $100 down the drain. I ain't been back there since. Out of respect to the man and woman that I would normally see when I used to go to their restaurant, I just never said anything to them. But guess what? My community asked me to boycott Asian businesses. I'm going to boycott them. Because the community asked me to. Because the collective needs to show other people, guess what? You don't mess with us. You leave us alone. If you want to hang out with us, then be amicable. Be nice. Be respectful. But if you don't, we ain't going to argue with you. We just rolling out with our money. And that's going to teach you a lesson. Talk to the CEO, the COO, the CFO, the CIO, and everybody else in the C class of the Target stores. Oh, and another thing. Don't try to come to what we call our entertainers and try to get business things with them. Because that ain't making us do it. Because you know what an entertainment does? They always want the money over racism. Jay-Z at the Target stores, I will never buy his shit. His shit could float up in the air and kiss me on all four of my cheeks. I'm still not buying his shit. Now I'm making it personal. It ain't gonna happen. Cause that's that coon mentality when you choose.
Common sense approach. Now I know most Asian business owners are probably thinking to themselves that this situation with Black Americans banning, supporting their businesses will eventually come to an end sooner than later, and it'd be back to business as usual. But to be honest with you, I don't think so. As you can see these ladies getting it in, putting in work. I don't think so. I think you guys are in it for the long haul when it comes to Black people supporting your businesses again. And I'm going to give you a few reasons why I think so. Number one, a lot of people been waiting on you to fuck up anyway. And that's just the truth. A lot of people have been waiting on you to fuck up. Which leads me to number two. You have close to 50 million black Americans in this country. A lot of them who have been waiting on the opportunity to provide these services to their community. But you was in the way, which goes back to number one. A lot of people been waiting on you to fuck up. And last but not least, a lot of black Americans have been talking to their children about this. And there's a lot of things you don't want to be in the eyes of your children, but you definitely don't want to be a hypocrite and to look weak in front of your children or in the eyes of your children. So for me to sit down and have these conversations with my children on why we shouldn't support these businesses and then to go and start back supporting them makes me a hypocrite to my child, and it also makes me look weak. So for the, it's a few more reasons, but those are just a few reasons why I feel like things will never go back and be the same as it was. This common sense approach. I'm out.
Asian folks, do you know why black folks are cutting you off? Here's a brief history lesson. Asian folks were discriminated against just like black folks. Y'all were kinfolk for a bit. And then you were restricted to being able to open up different shops that were considered undesirable, like laundromats. Now, black folks could have opened those things up, but they knew that that was your limit. Then somewhere along the line, you became the favored minority. Because after the wars, we had plenty of half-Asian babies, and you looked close enough. And when you socially rose up by the graces of those that bestowed it upon you, you just left black folks alone. But what was the catalyst here? It was the fact that it was an Asian dude that's already apparently killed 2 other people. Got off with barely a tch on the wrist. And y'all ain't doing jack. Black folks have stood with you since the beginning of time, and they're about to show you how much they've impacted your life. It's not that you couldn't be replaced. It's that they were too polite to. And y'all just kept silent. Not doing a damn thing. Even defending the dude. Really. So at this point, you get what you're going to get. Black-owned businesses are going to thrive. And you've seen so many black folks telling you, like, we could have replaced you a long time ago. Now you're about to see it. You're about to get humbled. Just like racist white people, they're about to get humbled. They're about to get humbled. Whether you believe it or not, I love all of you. And as always, stay amazing. Or be amazing. Your choice. Or it could be one of those people that's like, don't leave me. Me too.